What's up, guys? I wanted to make a video of my obscure predictions for the final season of Game of Thrones. No, I'm not gonna rap this one or make it rhyme. I'm just gonna put my predictions on record just in case I get some of this stuff right. So, with little research and a handful of YouTube conspiracy videos, I've made a list of 4 categories: who dies, who lives, who I'm unsure of, and who I think will make an appearance. Alright, so the first list I'm gonna go through is who I think is gonna die. Number 1 is Lord Commander Ed. Besides being Jon's friend, he isn't like a great fighter, he's not from a great house, and there's no underlying storyline that he's a part of, so I think he's just gonna be one of the lost ones in the battlefield. Number 2 is Grey Worm. He's another soldier that I think will be lost on the battlefield. He's a loved character, great fighter, but shedding light on Grey Worm and Missandei's relationship puts a heavy vulnerability in his survival rate, and I think he's gonna die. And that's just kind of how it usually goes with these things. Number 3 is Beric Dondarrion. He's been living on borrowed time, so he's definitely gonna die, but he's going to accomplish something huge before he does. He wasn't brought back to life 6 times just to kill some whites. He's gonna play a key role in killing someone or saving/reviving someone, but he's going to die or sacrifice himself to do so. Number 4 is Podrick. I think Podrick is gonna die beside Brienne. You can see him with her in the trailer. I think they're both gonna get like overwhelmed on the battlefield, but Podrick won't be able to handle it. And though Brienne can, she can't make it to him in time, and she's going to witness his death and feel kind of responsible for it, because she's known for being hard on herself, but I'm going to get back to her later. Number 5 is Melisandre. She's definitely going to die because she foreshadowed it. I think she already knows she's going to die, or she wants to at the least. She's old, she's tired, she said she's been ready to die for a while. I think she will die because she came back to the north. I think Davos will be the one who will do the execution because that's the promise he made her. But the how may be different. Burning her may be too on the nose. I think like drowning her would be a Game of Thrones way to go for someone like her. Like, she won't get the pure death by fire like she wants. But then again, they may keep it simple and just hang her like Jon said he'll do. Now, here's a little conspiracy that I think that might throw people off, but there is a chance maybe she could be turned into the Night Queen. The Night King is known to turn the biggest weapons against him into something that he can use for his side, like Viserion. She does have magic to her that can maybe be corrupted with other magic that may be used to hurt Jon and Daenerys' cause. But that's just a crazy conspiracy that came out of my ass. All right, number 6 is Varys, because Melisandre also foreshadowed that. I think he'll see Daenerys going into Mad Queen mode, and he'll try to confront her like she requested him to, but then she won't listen like she didn't listen to Tyrion. This will lead him to search for another person to put on the throne like he's known to do. He's going to do something that'll put Jon in a better position for that. And though it won't necessarily hurt Daenerys, she'll take that shade as betrayal and will ultimately execute him. And he's gonna be burned alive like Daenerys promised him. Alright, number 7 and 8 is Theon and Euron Greyjoy. I think Theon is gonna be on a mission to save Yara, and during that mission, Euron's gonna find his nephew, they're gonna fight, and I think Theon is going to lose, but at the same time, he put up a good fight and might have wounded Euron, or at least keep him distracted long enough so Yara can come from behind and finish the job on Euron before Euron can finish the job on Theon. But though Theon will already have injuries that are beyond saving, so I think he'll live long enough to embrace his honor for coming for his sister, but will ultimately die shortly after. Number 9 is the Mountain, and I think he's going to die either facing the Hound in Clegane Bowl, or, hear me out, he might die on the field. Let me explain. Cersei could lose the loyalty of Qyburn going into some crazy Mad Queen suicide mission. Qyburn ain't trying to die. He ain't that loyal. He just wants to experiment on shit. He may abort if Cersei takes that route, and the Mountain may join him, but that's only if he can control him. Not sure if he can. The Long Night can be pushed back towards King's Landing, and the Mountain may actually fight alongside the Hound, and they might have a bro moment. Who knows? That would be interesting to see. But either way, I think he's going to die. Number 10 is Jorah the Andal. I believe that he's just going to die in the battlefield, most likely saving Daenerys. That's kind of always been his purpose and his storyline, so I don't think there's anything else to him. Number 11 is Davos. I think he's going to die whether he's on the field fighting or he's hiding in the crypt. He's known not to fight and be a liability. That's why he didn't join the group when they went beyond the wall in the last season. But he's down to when it calls for it, like in Castle Black when Jon was killed, or in the Battle of the Bastards. If he hides, I think he'll sacrifice himself to provide escape time for the Stark kids. If he fights on the ground, I think he'll sacrifice himself as well, but in a bigger way. I feel like he'll go in some type of blaze of glory, taking out a big chunk of the dead army as well as himself. Not sure how, maybe wildfire. I mean, that's how his son died, and maybe he'll continue on tradition. Alright, 12 and 13 is Jaime Lannister and Cersei Lannister. I think Jaime is going to kill Cersei, and he's going to die shortly after. I feel like they came in the world together, and they're going to leave the world together. It'll confirm Maggie the Frog's prophecy, on top of Jaime saying that he wanted to die in the arms of the one he loves. I imagine him embracing her body in a building on fire that's collapsing, kind of like the scene in the trailer where everything's just on fire. I believe that something like a building's going to collapse on both of them, which will lead to his death too. I mean, remember, he left Cersei because he takes the fight serious, not because he hates her. He still loves her, but I think he'll kill the Mad Queen for the greater good, to repeat history and repair his honor for the White Book. 14 and 15 is going to be a little left field and obscure, but it's going to be Robin Arryn and Bran Stark. I believe they're going to be in the crypts, hiding with the rest of the non-combat characters, and Robin is going to want to go out and fight and be a hero. And being that Robin's coddled and no one can tell him to his face that you're a shitty fighter or you can't fight, he might believe that he can be a hero. But they're not going to let him out, and being the spoiled brat that he is, he's going to either sneak out or run out in a fit, leaving the crypt, and eventually gets killed. But he will lead the whites to everyone in the crypts. People will scramble, they'll scatter, and a lot of people will get killed. Some will run and escape, but Bran will be down there warging, and he won't have anyone there to help, so eventually he's going to get killed. I mean, I can kind of see that happening, but who knows. Number 16 is Arya. Arya will be behind enemy lines, and I think this will probably be after the Night King's War. I think she'll survive that fight, but she will be behind enemy lines. She'll kill an enemy and wear their face, trying to get to Cersei to scratch off a name off of her list, but someone from her own side who won't know or is aware will kill her on accident. It was kind of foreshadowed when she saw herself dead in the House of Black and White. I don't want this to happen, but it is Game of Thrones and anything is possible. Number 17 and 18, the final two for this list, who I think is gonna die, is Daenerys and the Night King. Daenerys is gonna die. Not from childbirth like I've heard. I don't think there's gonna be that type of time. I don't know how she'll die, but I think she'll definitely die in battle. They'll be trying to burn her body, but they're unaware that Daenerys can't be burnt. So she's going to come back as the Night's Queen if Melisandre doesn't. Or she might just come back as a white. But either way, Jon Snow will stab her in the heart with his Valyrian steel sword, Longclaw, and summon Lightbringer, and he's gonna use that to kill the Night King. Alright, so here's the list of characters that I'm unsure about. And the first one being Qyburn. I don't really give enough attention to him to have really thought about his fate, but if he doesn't leave Cersei for being crazy, I think he'll get killed while working, but not before he scratches his own killer with some type of poison blade. That can cause an ongoing time-sensitive issue for a specific character that can add to the dynamic of problems. But I feel like besides building the tools that the soldiers can use, that's probably the most damage he can do himself. Number 2 is Tyene Sand. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but I think she might survive. I mean, yeah, she's been poisoned, but Qyburn admitted that though death is certain, he couldn't give a certain timeline of how long it would take to kill her. This kind of leaves the door open for her survival, and I think it'd be good to have some Dornish presence throughout the final season instead of just like writing them off. She could possibly provide the antidote to whoever Qyburn poisoned. If he does so, in my crazy theory, if Qyburn was smart, he'd poison every arrow tip to make sure even small wounds would kill, especially after learning a big-ass arrow didn't stop Drogon. But I think it'd be dope to see a Tyene and Bronn reunion. They had the hots for each other, and I think it'd be dope to have them together at the end, and they can kind of continue on life as a Bonnie and Clyde sellsword couple duet or whatever. Number 3 is Tormund Giantsbane. He's the last of the wildlings, so I kind of don't want to see him and his people extinct like the giants. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to see him and the remaining free folk given some land and an official house. I would love to see Tormund as like an official lord and see him and his folks try to conform to the Westerosi way. I mean, there has to be somebody left to represent for them, right? And who else better than Tormund? But we love this character, so, you know, Game of Thrones. Alright, number 4 is Lyanna Mormont. I'm not sure if she's going to be hiding in the crypts or fighting on the field because she's not going to sew by the fire while other men fight for her. If she's on the field, I hope she's like an archer, so she keeps her distance and still plays her part. I think she'll be safer on the battleground with good fighters around her and open space to move. If they put her in the crypts, there's little space to maneuver, and she doesn't seem like the hand-to-hand combat type, so she would definitely die down there. But then again, she may be a part of the surviving group that escapes. I'm unsure. I'm leaning more towards dying though, because if I'm wrong about Jorah, he could be the one to take over House Mormont and restore his honor. Alright, number 5 are the dragons. They'll either die fighting Viserion or not. It's possible none of them survive, so the kingdoms are back to a level playing field, but there's a possibility that dragon eggs were laid somewhere. I don't know, I heard that conspiracy somewhere. I'm not sure, but I do know that at the very least, one other dragon will die. And number 6 is Tyrion Lannister. Not sure, because folks like Talking Thrones speak confidently about him deceiving Daenerys, and that kind of ingrained in my head, but if that's true, I think he'll do so in a way that would actually help her in the long term, like he's always been preaching, but since she's only seen things in a short-term perspective, she won't see it at that moment and have Tyrion executed, and she won't see what he did for her in that moment, but she will later down the road when it's too late. And it could be one of those decisions that he makes that splits the audience, not exactly sure, or he may not have no clever plan at all. He's just trying to figure it out as he goes. He might just be down in the crypts with Samwell Tarly and Bran trying to figure shit out. Alright, this list is the appearances part. Number 1 is Illyrio. I actually don't think he's going to show up. He's not coming back. He ain't got nothing to contribute. And we haven't seen him since Khal Drogo's wedding. Plus he's an Essos, so he's irrelevant. Alright, number 2 is Meera and Howland Reed. I think Meera may show up with some Archer folks, but I don't think Howland would. Number 3 is Dario. I agree with a lot of theories that I heard that he might come with the Golden Company. I don't know if he's already enrolled or he heard that they're gonna go fight Daenerys and he joins them to infiltrate. But since the Golden Company are a bunch of Targaryens and Targaryen supporters, they may switch to support Daenerys by default. But even then, Dario can still talk about his experience fighting with Daenerys, and his words will be the cherry on top on why they'll support Daenerys instead of Cersei. Number 4 is Jaqen H'ghar. I see him as an anti-hero. He follows what the God of Death says. Lives are going to be taken no matter what, and he has kind of like a Thanos approach. Good and bad, rich and poor, by random. That could mean a life needs to be taken on Cersei's side or from Jon and Daenerys' side. So we wouldn't know if he's an enemy or an ally until we know who the god tells him to kill. Or the balance between life and death will be offset if the walkers kill too many people. So he must go and help keep the balance. Number 5 is Kinvara. She may return, but I don't think she's going to contribute to anything big. I've heard in certain YouTube commentators about Game of Thrones that she may come with the Fiery Hand, which is basically a bunch of slave soldiers for the Lord of Light in Volantis. But that's kind of the only place I've heard of these people. Probably mentioned in the books, but I'm not sure because I don't read them. But I don't recall hearing anyone mention them in the show, unless I might have missed it. But either way, I think it'd be kind of random to me. Number 6 is Edmure Tully. He is locked up at the Twins. I think Jaime could free him on the way up to the north when he left King's Landing. That's actually a lot of people's predictions. Or someone else may free him if the Great War gets pushed down towards King's Landing from the north, because they'd eventually have to pass the Twins. He could also have been freed by some of the surviving women after the Freys got poisoned by Arya, but either way, he would probably be a part of the surviving group. I'm pretty sure he might be like in a weakened state for being in a cell for so long. Who knows? Or maybe he'll be dead because he starved to death. I don't know. But either way, he may be there, he may survive, he may not. Alright, now we're at the list of people who I think will survive. The first 4, Sansa, Sam, Gilly, and Missandei. I think they'll be a part of the surviving group from the crypts. I have no really reason why, I just see them surviving. Alright, number 5 is Ellaria Sand. She's supposed to be kept alive and fed to watch her daughter rot. So whether Tyene dies or not, Ellaria should still be alive. And if Tyene isn't there to help with poison issues or Dorne representation, we got Ellaria Sand. Alright, number 6 is Yara Greyjoy. I think she'll survive because I think Theon will save her. He'll die and kill Euron in the process, but at the end of it, Yara will be the only one to walk out of that situation. Alright, number 7 is Gendry. He won't be on the battlefield, but he'll be with those in the crypts, leading the first line of defense with a few Unsullied or Dothraki. He may or may not be with Davos, kind of depending on which role he decides to take, but I think ultimately Gendry will make it though. He'll lead the surviving group to safety, and possibly a sacrifice from Davos might be the reason why. Number 8 is Bronn of the fucking Blackwater. I didn't say that right. But I think Bronn is just a survivor, you know? He's a lone wolf. And yeah, lone wolf dies and the pack survives. But he's not very honorable, and he'll bail when he needs to in order to survive. He said this to Jaime after that one battle with the dragons. He's like, dragons is where our partnership ends. But if he had no choice, I'm assuming he will fight. But if he did, I almost guarantee that he'll leave. Number 9 is the Hound. I think he's going to live and become a true believer of R'hllor, the Lord of Light, after seeing what he saw in the flames. And I think he's actually going to take over the Brotherhood without banners and lead after Beric dies, or move to Volantis and join their temple. His character arc has made a complete 180, and this may be a reflection of his traumatizing relationship with fire. After fearing it for his whole life, and going through these huge events, he may finally learn to embrace it. All right, number 10 is Brienne of Tarth. I think she's going to survive. I think after Podrick dies, she's going to feel responsible for it because she's always hard on herself. And I think that is going to mess up her mental and put her in a vulnerable situation in the time of war. And this could cause someone to come and save her, causing their death. And this might snap her out of her whatever's going through her head to get it together, or else she's going to get other people killed. Or she could be in trouble and Podrick will come and save her the same way he saved Tyrion in the Battle of the Blackwater. And that's how Podrick's going to die, and she's still going to feel some kind of accountability or responsibility for his death. And I think she's going to survive, but either way, she's going to feel some type of heavy guilt on her shoulders. Number 11 is Jon Snow. Spoilers, aka Aegon Targaryen. Now, Jon needs to live. His whole life has been shit. Even in a great house, he's been treated like an outsider, especially with Catelyn Stark. And on top of his identity issues, he was duped into joining the Night's Watch for life, thinking that it was some elite force when really it was like a secondary jail. He was being picked on by Alyssa Thorne the whole time. He got shot up by arrows for them. He watched a woman that he loved get killed by a kid that he saved, which then killed him too. And he probably giggled about maybe 3 times throughout his entire existence. Like, let my man enjoy a beer and a joke or something, you know? He's been miserable and fighting and struggling his whole life. Give the man a break. See, Daenerys lived as a queen in many different forms with Khal Drogo or at Meereen, so she lived it up a bit. She was living in luxury. She got to relax and enjoy herself. This is why I think she should die if one of them has to go. But I ultimately believe Jon deserves to live. Number 12 is Hot Pie. He gonna make cake for everybody. And there you have it. That is my predictions for every character that's still alive in Game of Thrones. And I know a lot of my predictions kind of went off the rails and went in left field and just really out the box. My imagination can take me to weird places, but I see a lot of people's predictions videos, and a lot of them are very similar because they're trying to make sense of things, and I'm just trying to see what my imagination can come up with. Some of it may be true, some of it may not. All of it could be wrong, but you know, it's Game of Thrones and anything goes. So I just try to make the most fun out of this. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and subscribe if you find this interesting. But I'm not going to be doing this no more because this is a page where I rap. So yeah, just like it and subscribe anyway. Peace.